Hello, everybody, and welcome to the gospel discussion today. We're having a little technical difficulties today at 11 o'clock. We finally got our internet fixed, and I'm Scott Staub and pastor over at New Hanover Lutheran in Gilbertsville, PA.
Yes, and I am Pastor Marianne Sifke at St. Luke in Gilbertsville.
and I have, go ahead.
We're kind of a mess today.
Yeah.
We don't mean to be, but we kind of are.
Yeah, last
Some
minute,
anxiety.
then the phones are ringing, and I've learned that without my my screen flipped, when I go like this, it's actually going that way. But as I'm looking at, so when I want to go to Pastor Marianne, I got to go like that, and then you're seeing me point at Pastor Marianne. So I have it down pat. So here we go. So if you have your Bibles ready, please turn them to the Gospel of Matthew. And we're going to start off in chapter 25, verses 1 to 13. And if you think it was a messy beginning, just wait till we get into our discussion.
Yeah, you're in for a treat today.
So here we go, friends. Let's kick it off. Jesus said to the disciples, "Then the kingdom of heaven will be like this. 10 bridesmaids took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. And as the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight, there was a shout. 'Look, here's the bridegroom. Come out to meet him.'
Then all those bridesmaids got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out.' But the wise replied, 'No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves.' And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other bridesmaids came also, saying, 'Lord, Lord, open to us.' But he replied, 'Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour.'"
And there's the good news.
And there's the good news. We're done. See you later.
So go ahead. We both had the same kind of thought a little bit. There was a disturbing part in this gospel discussion, is there not?
Yes, it bothers me in this story that the bridesmaids don't share their oil.
I know. I mean,
gosh darn it.
Yes. I mean, from the time we were little, we're always told to share, share. And then here we have a gospel. We have Jesus here saying 5 were foolish because they didn't bring enough.
Yeah.
And the other 5 were wise because they didn't share.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave that out of our Sunday school lesson children's message this week.
Yeah. I think we will too. And and a lot of the commentaries and scholars will say that that's not the point of the parable anyway.
Yeah.
Of course they will, so they don't have to explain it. I don't want to explain
They're
it
always
either.
sticking up for Jesus, I know.
Whereas me, I read this and went, darn it, Jesus.
Yeah.
But in this context here, we have Jesus sitting on the Mount of Olives with his disciples. This is right before his passion. So he's telling 3 parables to them about judgment, about the second coming, basically about the meantime, about what happens in the meantime.
Right. And I found it interesting that I looked at the parallel, and if you really want to get geeky and go out there, there's synopsis of the 4 gospels, and even you can buy them with a synopsis of the 5 gospels, where it includes the sayings of Thomas as well. But
don't do that.
Pastor Marianne and I had to buy them for seminary. So they're not cheap, but you can probably buy them used on Amazon from all the seminarians that need money and don't use them anymore anyway. So there are tons of them out there. So look them up on Amazon. But in there, it talks about the other gospels and the other authors of Mark and Luke, and they tended to focus more, like you said, the commentaries were about the people in latter days, maybe us, maybe even referring, because it refers to the second and third shift in the one gospel. So I found that interesting. I mean, they had shift work back then. So Luke says, those who come in the second watch or in the third, and finds them also, blessed are those servants. So I don't know if we're in the second and the third shift, because only God knows that, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So we have to talk about a wedding.
Oh, okay.
So we have to talk about weddings in Jesus' day, and the bridegroom, or what we now call the groom, would be at the bride's house negotiating the price with the bride's father.
Hmm.
So he would be negotiating that dowry, whatever. And then the bridesmaids would be ready to welcome people into the wedding party, into the banquet.
Mhm.
So that's what's happening here. And it says that the bridegroom was delayed.
It's all about that father-in-law, huh?
I know. Must have been a tough negotiator.
Must have been all that over another goat or something,
Yeah, you never know. So because he was delayed, that's why we have some foolish and some wise.
Right.
Some were prepared for that delay, and some just decided everything would happen as planned. They were pretty darn optimistic, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But still disturbing that some get to go into the banquet and some don't. Then it's. I mean, we preach the God's grace for all, and yet in these, as you pointed out, I mean, Jesus is talking about what the kingdom of heaven is like, and there's judgment in here. So it begs to ask then. Is this about judgment, or is this about the grace of God and God's love for us?
Yeah, it's an interesting parable, because it's, when I said darn it Jesus, I wasn't kidding. I mean that on a lot of levels. First of all, darn it Jesus, why are you so late? I'm ready for you to come now.
Hmm.
Come back now. Our
Hmm.
world needs you.
Right.
Um, and and darn it Jesus, why is there judgment? Why will not everyone be able to come?
Yeah.
But then I have to remember, this is not about my judgment. This is God's judgment.
And that's so critical right now. I think that's a great point. I mean, with people with this virus, pandemic, and right now, if you're living in our area and you're seeing the numbers increase dramatically, and it's begging to ask is, okay, Jesus, we're ready for you now.
Right.
Come with a cure, come with the vaccine, or just wipe this thing out, have a miracle and just wipe it out, so we never have to deal with it again. And people, there's a lot of anxiety right now. If this is Wednesday, our election was yesterday, and we don't have the results, and we may not, now they're saying till Friday morning. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are saying, come Jesus. Can't God send angels to count everything and get it over
Right.
with?
Right. Yep.
A lot of
Mhm.
anxiety and a lot of things that we want to happen in our own time frame.
And instead, all we get is keep awake.
Yeah, darn it,
Be ready.
Jesus.
Right. Keep awake. Be ready. So Pastor Scott was talking about a book. Well, I have a book to talk about too. And I think it's going to be backwards for you also, maybe. It's called Always a Guest. And it's by Barbara Brown Taylor, who is an Episcopal priest. One of my favorite authors. And she has a quote about this parable. And it says, "As much as I don't like it, I think it's a true story." She's talking about this parable. "I think we really do live in a world that has been waiting since dark 30 for a wedding. Waiting so long that plenty of people have decided the bridegroom was a fiction or a no-show, who changed his mind and headed to Aruba with the diamond." So I think we see that in our world all the time. We all know people that have given up on waiting for Jesus. They've given up on the church. They've given up on their faith. They have lost all hope.
Mhm.
Um, and I think especially in these days, it's really hard to hold on to that hope. And how do we keep that alive? I think I wonder that as a pastor, you know, how do I keep that faith alive for my people?
Mhm. We are a now society. I mean, I think more than ever. I think things have become so instantaneous. Our expectations are narrow. One of the favorite things that I like always to do but talk about eternity when people are when you're excited about, you say that is heaven eternity, and will we be spending the rest of our life in heaven, and how long is that? Well, it's forever, forever. But yet in our moments when we're dealing with these gospels and when we're dealing just now, we only have today, and that's all we really know about. So I always point up to the fact about, I can see it's the end of a paper clip. I was searching for my pin, but if you see that, and if I run it like this across the bottom of my screen, it's like a timeline. But if you talk about eternity, and I'll put this up, you know, that's like right there. That's our lifeline. If we, it would say that over here on my shoulder, that's our total length of our time on the head of that pin. And then everything else is eternity. It doesn't seem that big. But when we talk about how we feel and then how our faith is and what we base things on and our expectations, they're all on the edge of that pin. And that's all that really matters to us, rather than focusing on all this time about the kingdom of heaven and grace and love of God and feeling that. But it's tough when all we have resting and our judgments and our feelings is on the head of that pin.
Mm. Those are some wise words, Pastor Scott.
Yeah. Once in a while. I think I, I think I read it back there somewhere. No, but that's I think this is all about timing, and it's hard to take us out of the moment at any given time when we're pressed with challenges, whether it be this pandemic, whether it would be our anxieties over the election, whether it be a promotion at our job, whether it be a test coming up for our students out there, whatever that may be. It's at that moment, and our faith rests on the head of that pin at all times, and Jesus is telling us that I am coming. Have faith in that.
I think it's the little things that bring us joy, and we can expect that joy with Jesus.
Right.
And this week, reading this gospel reading has brought some old Sunday school songs to mind. Um, like "Give Me Oil in My Lamp." Give me
Yeah.
oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. If you know that song. And then it talks about give me joy in my heart. Um, I think of there's a verse about faith in my soul. Um, those are the things that I think this parable is talking about. God, give me all of those things so that I can keep going, so that I can keep watching and waiting for you, so that I can stay awake, so that I can share that faith with other people, so that there's not 5 bridesmaids who the door is shut upon.
Right. Right.
Um, and at St. Luke, when I think about the people of St. Luke and I think about music, I think about This Little Light of Mine. I tell you what, it is their favorite hymn, hands down. It is our favorite hymn here at St. Luke. um, yeah. So how do we keep that hope alive? I think we do it in community,
Yeah.
do it together.
And simple. Keep simple songs in our heart and keep things simplified as far as our focus, and be ready for those that enter into our lives. I like that if that book, that title of the book. Now she was a guest preacher and thus the guest, but how about if always as a guest, if we always think that those who come into our life always as a guest, and how would we treat them? And that's God's love, I think, for one another.
Yes.
Yeah, cool stuff. And remember always, kindness changes everything.
It does. Yeah.
So share your oil.
That's right. So share your oil, darn it. Well, friends, thank you for listening and for watching and for pondering. This is how we keep going, by looking at scripture and knowing the words of Jesus and praying for Jesus to be among us.
And I just want to go out there, and I wore some Buckeye gray in honor of the Ohio State Buckeyes giving a stomping on the Penn State, but I have my blue on. Don't forget, all my other friends, don't forget, but no red yet.
It was quite a game. It was quite a game.
It was quite a day. It certainly was. So until next week, I want to wish everybody goodbye and thank you for joining us, and go get them.
Yes. Peace to you, dear church.
Peace.